Hello everyone, welcome back to LaExcellence Bengaluru presents current issue of the day, episode number 138. As we discussed in the yesterday's class, where we discussed nuclear non-proliferation treaties, I said that I will be coming with a video where we will explain and see all the other related nuclear treaties around the world. Okay, in that regard, this is the new video, that is India and the global nuclear treaties and why we said no to NPT and CTBT. We'll understand what is this NPT and what is the CTBT. If you already listened to the yesterday's class, we already discussed NPT detailedly and we discussed why India decided not to join it. Today we will discuss CTBT and other nuclear treaties. Just like yesterday, people who missed the class, I will explain it the story again. So the story goes like this. Second World War, every country was in arms race, and one country which saw a breakthrough through Project Manhattan under the guidance of Oppenheimer. Recently movie was also made on that one. Oppenheimer, he created atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb, which was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which resulted in arms race. Okay, so when the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it resulted in a explosion of this kind with the two new like mushroom clouded bomb explosions. Okay, so post this, many people thought that we have seen the significance or the damage from the nuclear weapons, so people will become more wiser and maybe they'll stop producing these weapons. Instead, what happened is we started the arms race. The arms race went like this. USA said we are going to develop a nuclear weapon, and then USSR said if you are going to develop a nuclear weapon, obviously we are also going to develop a nuclear weapon. And they went a step forward. Along with nuclear weapon, they also developed hydrogen bomb. One hydrogen bomb is said to be equivalent to 120 nuclear bombs. That is the intensity or velocity of the hydrogen bombs. Once USSR developed, the allies of USA, that is United Kingdom and the France, they also developed their nuclear bombs. And then it was the turn of China, which with the help of USSR developed their own nuclear weapons. Once China developed nuclear weapons, these countries, the so-called P5 or the nuclear weapon countries or so-called responsible countries, they decided that we should bring a law or treaty. That treaty was Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. Okay, so after that many other countries said that you already have the treaties, you already have the weapons, why should we abide by your rules? We are going to develop our own nuclear weapons so that we are strategically atomic. Okay, strategically autonomous, not atomic, autonomous. So as a result, it was turn of India. When India developed, obviously Pakistan with the help of China, they developed their own weapons, and North Korea with the help of USSR and China, they developed their own weapon. And then Israel, they maintain ambiguity that we don't have nuclear weapons, but it is believed that they have nuclear weapons already. And then presently Iran, they are saying we want to move out of NPT and develop our own weapons. Okay, so as you all know, Harari in his Sapiens book says that Homo sapiens, if Homo sapiens is so wise, why are humans so stupid? That is what happened here. Instead of becoming wise, they became stupid and decided to bring so many weapons into the world. And then some people of the Homo sapiens decided it is time to be wise. They were wise, but they were not democratic. As a result, then came the realization that we need rules. We need rules that these nuclear weapons cannot be used haphazardly. They should be used responsibly. As a result, then came the treaties. These treaties were the words that saved world. Okay, understand this. These were the words in the sense words between different countries that saved the world. Okay, so today we will be seeing what are these words that were aimed at saving the world, how successful they have been. Okay, now the story ends here. We will discuss the current issue of the day. Okay, now We'll discuss why it is in news. It is in news because, as we discussed yesterday, Iran is trying to move out of NPT. So I thought that we'll also discuss the static part. Okay. So in syllabus, obviously it comes under GS2, international relations, and GS3, internal security as well. And then within that, bilateral, regional, and global groupings involving India. The context is, amid the intensifying war between Israel and Iran, Iran is threatening to move out of NPT and develop their nuclear program. Now, among the treaties, the first and the most important treaty is the NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty. I've already discussed about this in detail yesterday, but today I'll just give you a gist. The objective was to prevent spread of nuclear weapons and promote peaceful use of the nuclear energy and also nuclear disarmament from the nuclear weapon states. Okay, so it had a trifold aim. One is avoid nuclear weapon spread, then nuclear technology has various other uses. One of the other use was nuclear energy, and then nuclear disarmament. So under this, key provisions were they divided the countries into two types. One is nuclear weapon state, another one is non-nuclear weapon states. Okay, nuclear weapon states under this treaty are those countries which were possessing nuclear weapons prior to the bringing of this treaty, that was before 1967. Okay, under this it included 5 P5 countries, that is USA, UK, Russia, France, and China. Okay, it didn't include the countries which developed weapons post this treaty, such as India, Israel, Pakistan, North Korea, other countries. Okay, then under these provisions, it binded both nuclear weapon countries and non-nuclear weapon countries to certain provisions. One is non-nuclear weapon countries should, if they are signing this treaty, they should mandate that we are not going to develop nuclear weapons. Whereas nuclear weapon states should mandate that we are not going to transfer our technology to other non-nuclear weapon states so that they are able to develop nuclear weapons. Okay, we are not going to do that. So that is what happened here. Nuclear weapon states cannot transfer nuclear weapons to non-nuclear weapon states, and non-nuclear weapon states must not develop or acquire nuclear weapons. However, there is a clause for peaceful nuclear technology sharing under the International Atomic Energy Agency safeguards. Okay, and this is the provision of NPT. What about India stand? India said that it outrightly rejected this NPT treaty because it was discriminatory in nature. How is it discriminatory? Because already 5 countries are possessing nuclear weapons. Now you are asking other countries not to develop nuclear weapons. Why? Because you are afraid that it is irresponsible. How can you say that you are responsible but other countries are irresponsible? So India outrightly rejected it and went on to develop its nuclear weapons under Operations Smiling Buddha. Argues that treaty is discriminatory and it legitimizes nuclear weapon states based on pre-1967 testing, ignoring India's security concerns. However, India supports universal non-discriminatory disarmament. Okay, if you want us to sign this treaty, then all the countries, be it India, be it Pakistan, be it USA, be it Russia, or any other countries which are possessing nuclear weapons, should go for voluntary disarmament. That is, whatever nuclear weapons they have, they should dispose them off. Okay, meaning no country in the world should have nuclear weapons. That is the stand of India. After this, there was another treaty which was called as PBT, that is Partial Ban Test. Partial Ban Test was signed in 1963, even before the NPT it was signed. The objective was to prohibit nuclear tests in atmosphere, outer space, or underwater. Okay, important. Outer space, atmosphere, or underwater. Meaning you can test your nuclear weapons on the ground or under the ground. However, you are not allowed to test in atmosphere, space, or underwater. So it allows underground testing. India's stand is that it signed and ratified the treaty in 1963. Very important. Of the many nuclear weapon or nuclear treaties, India signed this treaty. Okay, and it's supported as a limited step towards curbing radioactive fallout. Okay, however, this treaty has been violated by many countries post this treaty. For example, USA conducted a nuclear weapon test underwater. Russia as well conducted a test underwater. So they are the superpowers. They do not abide by these laws or treaties. Then comes another significant treaty. That treaty is CTBT. That is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which was signed in 1996. It was signed in 1996 because by that time India had tested its nuclear weapons and developed its own nuclear weapons. So objective was to ban all kinds of nuclear explosions for military or civilian purposes. Okay, it didn't say that it is not just the development of nuclear weapons, but also nuclear testing should also be prohibited. There should be no more nuclear explosions around the world. Okay, so key provisions are prohibits all nuclear weapons test explosions, establishes international monitoring system, that is IMS. It needs ratification by 44 specific states including India to enter into force. Okay, so India, since has not signed this treaty, as a result CTBT has not come into force yet. Now, why did India say no to this treaty? It said no or didn't ratify because the concerns were it does not commit nuclear weapon states for disarmament. Okay, you are saying what are the weapons you have developed already, you are going to keep those weapons and you will further not allow other countries to test nuclear weapons. If it is not discriminatory, then what is discriminatory? Okay, so if you are asking other countries not to test weapons, you should be responsible and disarm all your nuclear weapons. Only then we will sign this treaty. Okay, thus it does not address stockpiling or computer based simulation of the nuclear test. Okay, the countries such as USA, China and Russia had already developed technology way beyond the actual testing of nuclear weapons. They could just run the nuclear test simulation on their supercomputer and establish their own nuclear weapons. And it also didn't address the stockpiling. For example, it is said that Russia has more than 6,000 plus nuclear warheads. USA has more than 5,000 plus nuclear heads. Now compare that to India's nuclear heads. India has 176, Pakistan has 186, China has 500. So imagine the discrepancy between nuclear weapons between India and USA. Okay, that is why India said that you should disarm all the weapons, only then we are going to sign this treaty. So India, however, declared a voluntary moratorium on further testing after Pokhran 2 in 1998. Okay, India said, even though we are not going to sign this treaty, we will voluntarily abide by the rules that we are not going to test any more nuclear weapons after the Pokhran 2. By that time, we had tested nuclear weapons and developed our own nuclear weapons for our strategic safety or security. Okay, and then comes another treaty, that is START. START is Strategic Arms Reduction Treaties. Strategic Arms Reduction Treaties, there are three types of, one is START 1, 2, 3 and there is New START which are recently initiated. This treaty is more of a bilateral treaty between USA and USSR or Russia rather than a global treaty. So it is bilateral treaties between USA and erstwhile USSR or the current Russia. Aim is reduction and limitation of strategic offensive wars. Okay, so India's stand is, India is not a party because it is a bilateral treaty between Russia and USA. However, India supports this treaty and it supports global arms reduction, but is critical of focus on USA and Russia stockpiles, ignoring other non-nuclear weapon states. Okay, it says that Russia and USA have stockpiled nuclear weapons, that should be addressed before, and only then rest of the treaty should be brought into force. Then next important treaty is Fissile Material Cutoff Treaty, that is FMCT. It was proposed but not yet implemented. It aims to ban further production of fissile material. What is fissile material? A fissile material is the raw material needed to develop nuclear bombs or nuclear weapons. That fissile material is uranium-235 and plutonium-239. With the use of these metals or these minerals or these materials, you are going to produce nuclear weapons. So this treaty aims at banning the production of these two fissile materials. okay, for nuclear weapons. India's stand is that obviously, since it is a peaceful treaty, India supports the trade negotiations, but India said that on including existing stockpiles, not just the future production. India's stand is clear. Whatever the treaty you are going to bring, consider the previous stockpiles which have already been made by USA, Russia, and other countries. Only then we are going to support a treaty. It is not just the future production, but also the past production should also be accounted for. Only then we will support the treaty. Then security concerns related to China-Pakistan nexus is there. So as a result, India has not completely signed this treaty. Then there is nuclear weapons free zone treaty. There are many treaties under the same name, nuclear weapons free zone treaties. Example, Tlatelolco, Pelindaba, Rarotonga. What are these? We discuss. These are the regions commit to remain free of nuclear weapons. So most of the regions are in Antarctica and Africa. These regions have committed that we are not going to test nuclear weapons and we are going to be nuclear free zones. Okay. So India's stand is obviously it is supporting in principle. Example, it backed Africa's Pelindaba Treaty. Okay. Under Africa's Pelindaba Treaty, the African countries committed that we are not going to test nuclear weapons. And then there is India also respects such treaties, but not part of any due to regional treaties or regional threats, especially from China and Pakistan. Okay, India would like to be nuclear free zone, but however, because of the strategic security and the concerns posed by the neighboring countries such as China and Pakistan, India is unable to become nuclear free zone. Okay, then next treaty is Missile Technology Control Regime or MTCR, very important treaty, which was signed in 1987. Aim is prevent proliferation of missile technology capable of delivering weapons of mass destruction. Okay, we should prevent proliferation of missiles. That is, we cannot allow countries to freely develop missiles which are capable of delivering weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so India's stand is India has become a member in 2016. Very important. India is a member of this MTCR, and then helps in accessing high-end missile technologies, example drones, and strengthens India's export control regime. Okay, so by joining this MCTR, India also gets access to technologies that are transferred from other countries which are already in this group. Okay, only thing is you cannot develop the missile technology which is capable of delivering weapons of mass destruction. Very important. India is a member of this treaty. Then the next one is Australia group, which was signed in 1985. Objective is to control export of chemicals or biological agents to prevent weapons of mass destruction use. Okay, under the weapons of mass destruction, the weapons can either be nuclear, chemical, or biological. Okay, so many say that during the Nazi Germany regime, chemical weapons of mass destruction were used on the Jews. Even recently, chemical weapons of mass destruction were said to be used by Russia and Ukraine, but that is not yet guaranteed. Okay, so these uses should be banished. That is what the Australia group is there for. It prohibits or controls the export of chemicals and biological. Sorry, not prohibits, just controls. So India's stand is India has joined in 2018. It has joined in 2018. It also helps in enhancing India's non-proliferation credibility. Okay, and then there is Wassenaar arrangement. So Wassenaar arrangement, Australia group, and MCTR. All these things are related to missile technologies. India is member of all these, so it becomes very important. Wassenaar arrangement was signed in 1996. It also controls export of conventional arms and dual-use goods and technologies. Okay, most of these are related to control of the export of raw materials for weapons. So India's stand is India has already joined this in 2017. It helps in boosting India's access to high-tech trade. Okay, we will provide you technologies. Only thing is you should stop the export of conventional arms. Okay, and finally the last treaty is Nuclear Suppliers Group, which was signed in 1974. Aim is to again control export of nuclear materials and technology to prevent misuse. Okay, so India stand: India is not a member due to opposition from China. However, India, even though it is not a member of nuclear supplier group, it gained a waiver in 2008 after India-US civil nuclear deal, allowing access to civil nuclear tech despite being outside of NPT. Okay, one of the provision is that you have to sign the NPT or Nuclear Proliferation Treaty to join nuclear supplier groups. India wants to be the member of nuclear supplier group, considering that it will get access to technology, etc., etc. However, there is a opposition from China saying that India has not signed NPT, so we should not allow India to join nuclear suppliers group. Okay, in spite of not being the member of nuclear suppliers group, because of India-US nuclear deal, USA helped India to build nuclear technologies and helped India to transfer their technologies to India. Okay, so these are various groups related to nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction as well as conventional weapons. Very important, especially for your prelims as well as mains exam that is ongoing. Because of the Israel, Iran as well as NPT, these states become very important. So make note of all these states. Now with this, I will end the video. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on the video, and also share with your friends. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.